Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. So today video is on ReactJS JWT authentication using HTTP only cookie. So here we are going to store our JWT token inside of the cookie. Okay, and we are going to authenticate our React application. What is HTTP only cookie? So let's understand here with some description what is HTTP only cookie. In a single page applications like ReactJS application, JWT token either can be stored in browser local storage or in cookie. So that means either server can return directly tokens like refresh token and access token. At the time, we have to save them into our browser local storage. Another way, server can store the JWT token into the cookie, and that cookie will come as a response once user is successfully authenticated. So that is one way. So storing the JWT token inside of the cookie, then cookie should be HTTP only. Okay. So not only JWT token cookie, any kind of authentication cookie should be HTTP only. So this HTTP only mark will be given to the cookie by the server itself. The HTTP only cookie nature is that it will be accessed by the server application. I have mentioned right, it cannot be accessed by client application. So client apps like JavaScript based apps can't access the HTTP only cookie. We discussed this. So if we use authentication with HTTP only JWT cookie, then we no need to implement custom logic like adding authorization header or storing token data, etc. on client application. So this is also we discussed like if the API is giving tokens directly, then we have to store them, and also then we have to add those token values as a authorization header. That headache we no need to do when we use cookie based authentication. Okay, because once the user is authenticated, cookie will be automatically sent to the server. So server will analyze whether the request is authenticated request or non-authenticated request. So that's about the HTTP only cookie. Now let's create React application. Okay, this is the command to create React application. So let's run the command so that application gets created for us. Our project created successfully. Let's open it. This is our React project. Okay, let's install React Bootstrap library to integrate the UI components. Go to React Bootstrap website, click on Get Started, and you can see command for installing the React Bootstrap. Copy the command, open the terminal, paste our command, install it. React Bootstrap installed successfully. Now we have to import the CSS file reference onto our index.js. So go to index.js file. Here first let's remove unwanted references. So something like this report web vitals you can remove and its reference as well. And I can remove the strict mode for my learning purpose. And here let's add the bootstrap CSS file reference. Import bootstrap dist CSS bootstrap.min.css file. Now install the React Bootstrap routing library. So search like npm react-router-dom and click on the npm link. And you can see the command for installation. Copy it. Open the terminal, paste our command, install it. So React router DOM installed successfully. Now let's add browser router element from the React router DOM, and it should be wrapped around our app component in the index.js file. Okay, so browser router. So inside of it, add app component element. Now let's create React component. Okay, that component contains menu. So it should be like a shared component. Now in the SRC, create a folder like components. Inside of it, add like one more folder shared. So to that folder, let's add our component, layout component. Okay, to this layout component, let's try to add Bootstrap navbar component. Go to Bootstrap website and go to the components. In components, we have to go for navbar. So there are several examples here. You can pick one of your example. So I'm going to pick this primary variant navbar, okay, and add it here. And I can, for now, I can remove this nav elements. I will remove container as well because I want full length navbar, okay. And we have to import the namespace. So import the navbar namespace here. Okay, for now, let's remove the href reference and let me name my title like JWT HTTP only key auth demo. Okay, so this is the navbar and this is like a master template. That means every page component will be a children for this master template. That means I have to load the page components like a children. So how we can get the children components using the props.children. So I can destructure my props like directly. I can use children. Okay, this is called destructuring without using props. Okay, and here I am going to create a container, bootstrap container. So inside of that container, I am expecting to render the all children components. Okay, now we have to add this layout element in the app component because app component is our entry component in our React application. So let's go to app component and here you can find some sample HTML. I can remove everything. Okay, and I can simply add my layout component element. Now let me create one more React component like a home component. So the purpose of creating this home component is very simple. It is like a home page where any user can be authentic. Any user can be accessed. Whether user is authenticated or non-authenticated, they can access the home page. So it is like a guest page. Everyone can access it. Okay. So but it will be a page component. So for that, let me create one more folder inside of the SRC like pages. And to this folder, let's add our page level component like home component. So now in this component, let's display some welcome message. Okay. So first let me add a div and I want to display this entire content uh, at the center of the page. So let's give some styling like deflex, justify, content, center, align, items, center. And let's give additional styles like minimum height and minimum width. Okay, min height like 500 pixels, min width. Okay, inside of this div, let me add some card component to write my welcome message. So in the React Bootstrap, go to cards component. Okay, copy this card and add it inside of this div. Let's remove the styling. Okay. And I don't want card image, no title, no button, just a small welcome. Okay, welcome to JWT HTTP only cookie auth demo. Okay, some message, welcome message. Okay, we have to add the card namespace, copy the card namespace from here and add it here over top. Let's configure route for our home component. For that, I can go to the app component. So these are all page components, right? So let's implement the route inside of the layout component. So to implement the route, I can use routes element that loads from the React DOM that takes individual route where we can configure each page level routing. So here for each route, I can specify a path. So slash means that specifies home path. Okay. And element to this element, we have to pass the component that we want to load for the path. So here I want to load the home component. Okay. Let's test whether we are able to see our welcome home component rendering or not. Here you go. Our home component is loading perfectly. Now let me create one more React component at page level. That is my login component. So here inside of the page folder, let's create new component like login. Okay, to this login, first let me create some useref variables. So I want to bind those variables with my form. Okay, so my login component contains a form for user authentication like email address and password fields. Okay, so let me create useref variables. Okay, that loads from the React. So I will name first variable like email and the second variable like password. So I am going to map this useref variables to my form so that I can read user entered form data. Okay, nothing but email address and the password. Okay, now here let's try to add our login form. So first let me add a container, bootstrap container, and let's give some styling like margin top 2. Okay, now here I can add a row, bootstrap row, and inside of it I can configure a column. And to this column, let's add some styles. Okay, call MD8, offset MD2. Okay, to make my form center, I can use this class. Okay, now let's define a legend tag for my form heading. Okay, so login form. Now let me add the form control. So go to Bootstrap website. Here you can see the forms, right? So copy one of the form control and add it here inside under the legend. Okay. From this, I can remove this form text since it is my email only. So I can leave the label and type email. Don't want any placeholder. I am using label, right? So let me duplicate this form group. Okay, here I can change like password. Okay, this should be password label and the type should be password so that I can see. Okay, now let's map our useref variables for that on the form dot control. Let's map them with ref attribute. Okay, so email ref password. Okay, and we should have a button here, login button. So let me add a button. So login, and this button should be registered with a event. So let me create a handler. Okay, so const login handler, and I want it should be async since I am going to invoke API call, right? So for now there is no API call. Let's write empty handler method, and for on click, let's assign it. Okay, and let's import form also, namespace here. Okay. Now let's configure route for the form as well. So go to our app component. So route slash path, and I have to pass my component nothing but login. Okay. Let me add some menu items in my layout navbar component. So go to layout. Okay. Here I can add under the navbar brand, I can add nav element. Okay. So that loads from the React Bootstrap as well. And here I want to add a class. So class something like MS Auto. That means margin starts automatically from the starting. That means whatever the menu item I will add here, all the things will be rendered at right hand side because it will leave margins from the starting and it will add items at the end. Okay. Now here I will add my item like nav dot link. Okay. Login, and here I have to specify like as link. This is not bootstrap, but I am utilize the bootstrap element by adding attribute like link. So this link must be load from the React router DOM. So let me import code from React router DOM, and from there I can use link. Okay, and I can specify path with the two attribute. Okay, so it will be login. So that is the path, right? Here also we have to specify path like login. Okay. So whenever we click on this menu, it will be login. And let me define my navbar for with the navigation link. So what I will do, I will add link here as well, and I will specify to equal to home path. So I'm clicking the navbar brand. I want to redirect to the home page. Okay. So that is my menu items I have to add here. Okay, now let's test it. Okay, in the login page, column is missing. So go to login component. Here, import the call namespace as well because here we're using call, right? So save it. Okay, now good. Now here you can see on right hand side, we have login link. If I click on it, see, I am able to see my login form. If I click on my navbar brand, it navigate to my home page. Okay. If I click on login form. So next I have to invoke the API call. So for my demo, okay, I created a API, a service that provides login authentication HTTP only cookie, and that cookie contains JWT token. So I implemented this service in Nest.js, which is a Node framework just like Express. On top of Node, it was built Nest.js. So I have developed a small sample application in the Nest.js. Okay, here I opened my Nest.js API application. So how we have to use? For that I have saved entire code into the GitHub. So here you can see the link. This is my GitHub link. Go to my GitHub link and click on repositories and search like Nest.js, and you can find here nestjs.jwt.cookie.auth cookie.mock.api. Okay, so go to this repository and how to use it, everything I have in detail explained with the README documentation. You can go through them. Okay, so first thing is you have to clone the project, and next to run this application, Nest.js must be installed into your local machine. So for that, you have to run this global command for installing the Nest CLI. Once that is installed and project is cloned, go to the project root folder and run the npm install so that all the required packages for my Nest.js application gets downloaded. Okay. So once that is done, you can start application by running this command. Okay. And here are some points you have to see them as compulsory, because one of the thing is by default Nest.js runs at the port number 3000. Okay. But our React application also run under port number 3000. That means no two applications cannot run under the same port number in our local machine. So we have to give another port number. For that, you can go to src.maints and change and give some other port number. Okay. So let me show it directly. So this is my Nest application, right? I have mentioned we have to go for main.ts file. So here in the main.ts file, here is the area to configure the port number. Like this, you have to configure some 4000 or 5000, any port number. Okay, that is one point we have to remember. And next thing is, now our client application runs under 3000 and our server application, for example, runs under 4000. That means different uh, applications running under different port number. That means different domains. At that came, the general issue occurs whenever we consume APIs of our Nest.js application or any application is CORS error. So to overcome the CORS error, in the main.ts file, we have to register our domain. Okay, our client application domain. So if you observe here origin, you can see, right, I have already configured my ReactJS domain, which is localhost 3000. Okay. And if you want to change the credentials for login purpose, you have to go to the src/user service.ts file. Okay. If I go to user service.ts file, so this is a mock API. Okay, there won't be any database. So everything with using static user information, I am creating JWT token and storing into the and saving into the cookie, and cookie will be written as a response. So if you want to give your own credentials, please change this object. Okay, and here you can see email and the phone number. If you want to change, come to this file and change. Next. Next are what are the endpoints our API providing. So this is login endpoint, okay, which is a post endpoint, and here is the payload, okay, and you have to give these properties only because these are email and password are server properties, right? So make sure without any spelling mistakes you are giving these names, okay. So this is login endpoint. And another thing is, since it is a cookie based authentication, right? We cannot decrypt JWT token by reading from the cookie because it is HTTP only cookie. We cannot read the cookie. So somehow we get the user information. For that, I have created a one secured endpoint, that is profile only. Authenticated users only can consume this. So this is a get endpoint for consuming for getting the user information, so that this user information can be used on the something like menu here, like user email address, like that you want to display, you can use the profile information. And I also created one more additional endpoint, like to add one more additional secured page. Okay, so for that, like a this is the endpoint, one more secured endpoint. And finally, if the JW token inside of the cookie expired, and if you want to refresh, this is the endpoint to refresh the new JW token inside of the cookie. And finally, you can call logout endpoint as well. Okay. So in next priority for us is to invoke the login API. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this video delivered some useful content to you all. If you like the content, please do support me by liking the video and also by subscribing to my channel. Soon we are going to meet with new videos. Until then, signing off. Thank you so much.